So I'm finishing the CP16R main boards. So I have soldered everything else here except because I have made the TCXO modules separately and they are already coated, so I don't want to solder it in place before this board is defluxed and coated too, so I will do that last. But while I have this spare CP16 camera body which had mechanics in so bad condition that it cannot be restored to fully working camera anymore. But I could use it for parts, but now when I am making these patches of these main boards, I'm using this as a jig to mount the shutter parking sensors boards. You can see the small circuit board underneath. It is supported with 3 pins soldered in place. So the placement of that is really precise. I think I need to take this off so you can see. You can see that small pin. So the idea is with the original boards and also this board, because it cannot be done the other way. Idea is that pin supports this parking sensor board and acts as a 4 support points for the main board. So this is actually, that small pin is actually supporting the whole main board from that position. And I have left room for it on the circuit board, so there's nothing which can short circuit on the place where the pin hits, and I need to use this actual camera body mechanics assembly as a jig so that I can get this spacing between the small circuit board and the larger one correct. You can see the spacing. So if trying to do it another way, it's really difficult because it's fractions of a millimeter. If it's too high, then it bends the main board when mounting this. So I either would need to design a 3D print a jig to do that, or then another possibility is to use the actual camera to find the correct spacing. So this was easier for me because I had the spare body. This is also why I'm making this one batch, which is batch of 5 boards and then one for my own camera. So a batch of 6. That's 2 small batches actually. So I need to make another batch of these CP16R kits, but I likely won't make the 3rd batch, so I will make this batch, then I will shoot with install one to my own camera, shoot with it, make some material of it and promo photos, then I will make another batch, then I will sell my camera and probably also this spare body for spare parts. And after that I can't make these anymore. Or technically I could make these, but you would need to solder this in place by yourself. And some other parts which need very precise manual finishing. So I could make the main board otherwise, but you would need to solder some components in place and then do some part of the desoldering, defluxing. So defluxing means that you can maybe see so this solder bar, and if doing reflow soldering and anything, there's always the metal in it. So you can see this is 96.5% tin, then what? 3% silver and 0.5% of copper. Let's resolder, and then there's in the center of the wire there's flux, which is in this case it's colophon based, so it's basically a kind of tree resin purified resin, and because it's much healthier to use in this environment than the halogen based fluxes, and I don't need those because this is gold plated board which is new, so it doesn't need strong flux. It needs very mild flux just to solder very clean metal, but I still need to, it's no clean flux, but you can see the flux, so that it looks like the, yes, this residue. Let's see if I have that here. So I have the 2-propanol and other stuff, and I am putting these boards in a plastic box with the 2-propanol and let it soak, and it softens the flux, and then brushing it away, then doing it again and again, and then flushing with the clean 2-propanol which doesn't have any residue, and then it's done, then coating this with lacquer, protect from the oil, from the mechanics, because the board is here just right next to the mechanics, so it needs to be coated. And because it needs the protection, and also if you leave that flux residue here for many years, it will corrode the metal. Even if it's no clean flux, but it's not good for tiny SMD parts, so it needs to be taken away. So if you would need to solder this in place, I would need to otherwise prepare the board and lacquer coat it, but leave some empty pads of the coating here so that you could solder it easier. And you would need to partially disassemble the camera at this state to do that. So it can be done, but it's not nice stuff to do, so I don't recommend it. So I highly recommend ordering, if you ever need these boards, so I highly recommend ordering from the second batch, because after I have sold the cameras I can do the full assembly anymore. So you would need to finish some parts of yourself, and you don't want to do that. It can be done, but it's not nice. So just a reminder that please order in time. I won't make this forever. There's actually very limited time frame when I can make this. Originally it was only going to be June 2025. Now it looks like I will make another batch in November, but definitely not anything next year anymore. So if I have free time in November and nothing else to do, then I will make a couple of more of these boards. And of course, it's if someone orders them, then I will make those and then some extra. But not after that. Then I will sell the camera, and then this is done. And good luck if finding more of these after that. So maybe I could sell the bare circuit boards and program these microcontrollers and sell the parts to you what you would need to assemble it by yourself, and it's pretty horrible for a board like this. It's so precise fitting, so I don't want to do this one by one, and you don't want to do this one by one. Nobody wants that, so just please order from the second batch if you need this. I won't make this forever. So I don't hate making these, but it's really hard work. So now I have this stack of those circuit boards, and then I'm mounting the pins. Pin header, so I'm taking 3 individual pins here. Then I will put this to this board, and then stack the pins over this to keep them exactly straight and correct spacing when I'm soldering the pins to this board which has the components, and then mounting it here and mounting this to the camera mechanics so that I find the correct spacing, because here I will make a tiny bit of wedge-shaped area here so that it fits better to the groove. But goes there, then I will solder one pin and then melting it again and fine-tuning the other pin that it's exactly level, and then letting that cool down. It holds the base enough that I can solder the other pins and then finish soldering this, and then it's done. So it's everything else is more trickier than that, but even that adding this one tiny board can be a bit tricky if you haven't done that before, and even for me it's a bit tricky if I have to do this one by one and not always arrange all this stuff and then check all the plans of which components is which and how I did them last time, if I can make it other way this time, and then collecting the components and boards and preparing everything, and then soldering and quality control and checking and defluxing and coating and so on. So I don't want to make any of these boards one by one, it's too much work. So batch based is pretty much the only option if wanting to make any of this stuff. So I will just continue with this, export pins in place, then stacking, then soldering, and then here and one thing. This board is 4-layer board, so it has lots of copper because on both sides there's surface layer, then thin insulation layer, then another layer, then the board body, and then 2 layers on the other side. So here's some of the copper areas are really white and they act as a heat sink. So here you can see I soldered the other pins but not the ground pin, so I have this huge soldering iron for soldering the ground pin. Here's the normal tip I use for soldering those through the whole part, but I bought this huge soldering iron so that I can get enough heat capacity to solder here, because it's tricky with the tiny iron. It's barely enough to melt the solder if trying to solder here. If I make sometime next version of this, I make those heat reliefs wider. there was a tiny bit of glitch in the program, and it made it smaller, and it's hard to solder that. So, but now mounting all the shutter parking sensors, you can see this board has the infrared LED here. If it focuses, no, it doesn't like export at all. And here is the LED, here is some resistor to limit the current to the LED. Then here is the light sensor and a tiny hole on the circuit boards so that the light shines through to the sensor. So continue with this.